Hello, 8th grade Trailblazers. Let's get started with How Scientists Work Part 2. And this is actually a pretty cool one. I don't really think you need to take notes, but it's totally up to you. Let's get started. All right, we know observations. We learned this when we were itty-bitty. It's when we use one or more of our 5 senses to gather information. It's a noting and recording of facts, not opinion. For example, if you were in my classroom right now, there is one TV in the room. That's a fact. We're using our eyeballs to see that TV. Inferences are a little bit different. Inferences are based on our observations that we make with those 5 senses. So it's a logical interpretation based upon what we already know and what we've been through. Okay? Example, so when you enter a classroom on the first day of school and you see an adult or an individual in the front of the classroom, you probably infer that that's the teacher. It's probably not the lunch lady, right? What would she be doing in the classroom when you first walk in? All right, so there's big differences. We're recording observations when we're collecting data, not inferences. So inferences only come in when we're writing the conclusions in our lab reports or whatever it is I'm asking you to write. All right, let's test your observational skills. All right, take a good look at this picture, and I'm going to give you about the time it takes me to get up really quick and go get something out of my printer. All right, so you guys looked at the picture. Are there cars parked on the sides of the road? Do you remember? Don't go back. What color was the pickup truck driving in the road? Are there any minivans around? What does the blue sign say? What's the posted speed limit? Is there anybody walking in the road? So if we go back and look at the picture, the answers are the blue sign says there's a yard sale. There's a minivan coming toward us. The speed limit's 35. I don't see any pedestrians. Oh yeah, so that was everything on there. Again, that's the picture, just in case. All right, so if I asked you guys to do an exercise with this, again, looking at it, here's some good questions I could ask you. How many cars were in the intersection? Hopefully you tell me there were 2. Across the street, are there any parked cars? There are. Can you at least describe one of the cars driving through the intersection? So hopefully you told me there was either a white van or a blue SUV. Are there any potential witnesses? You would say yes, and that there's a guy mowing his lawn in front of that White House. What was the speed limit? Again, it was 35. And was there anyone parked in the first parking spot? No. So a lot of times it's really hard when people see crimes or something committed and they're supposed to remember facts. Even though our subconscious records it all, our conscious mind doesn't always record it. So it's really important that you're paying attention during labs and experiments and you're noting your observations. All right, so when we look at this picture, there's a coin. So it was probably like really long ago. Is there a representation of a face on one side of the coin? There is. Is that an observation or an inference? So hopefully you told me, yeah, I see the dude's face. It's an observation. The Latin word "de" means God. I mean, unless you directly know that, then that would be an inference. The Latin word "de" does mean God, but you wouldn't know that unless you had studied some Latin. So that might be an inference. The coin was made by deeply religious people. Because the word "de" is on it, then again, you might infer that deeply religious people made it, but that's not an observation. The date 1722, and I know you can't see it, it's cut off in my screen, but 1722 is printed on it. But that doesn't necessarily mean the coin was made in 1722. That could just mean when that country, that civilization got its independence. So 4 is an observation, 5 is an inference. The face on the coin is a representation of the nation's president. Maybe it's a representation of their best actor. Maybe it's a representation of their biggest comic. Like that comic. That's, again, an inference. All right, how many legs does the elephant have? The rest of these slides are pretty cool. They're just kind of visual mind blowers. So this is kind of tricky. This is one of those artist renditions where they try to trick you. What do you see here? I'll give you guys a minute. Hopefully you see like the blue chalice in the middle, or like the candle holder, the goblet, and then you see the two faces on either side and the stem of the goblet. And this picture, I know this is going back, but looks like it's Bill Clinton and his vice president, but it's really, so it looks like it's Bill Clinton and Al Gore, but it's really Bill Clinton twice, and they just photoshopped his hair. What do we see here? So you should see 3 different things. You should see, give yourselves a minute, but you should see the dude. Here's his hair, here's his eye, here's his ginormous nose and his mustache. Then you should see the old lady, and here's her brow, like her bangs, and here's her one eye, and then here's her massive nose with her little warts on it, and her mouth and her chin. And then you should see the young lady, and this is her eye, her nose, and her mouth, and her chin, and then she's got a choker on here. Pretty cool. 3 images, yes. An old lady, a young woman, and a man with a big brown mustache. All right, take a very close look at the vertical lines. Which one is longer? Just because you're smart kids, because I'm asking that question, you'll automatically realize that they're both the same length. But if I asked a 3rd grader which line is longer, they're going to tell me that the second picture has a longer line. But that's just a matter of perspective, which if you've ever studied art, artists mess with all the time. So, yeah, they're the same length. All right, compare this picture to the next picture. What's the difference? Again. So this guy is just this picture flipped upside down, but it's pretty cool how it goes. Because in this picture, we see this big, maybe like prehistoric dinosaur bird holding a guy maybe in a raft, like an inner tube. And he's standing on like a grassy island, the bird is, and then there's water in the distance, and here's some seagulls. But when I go to the next slide, is that the bird himself becomes the island, and his feet become the trees. His beak becomes the boat, and there's like a dude in a sombrero chilling in the boat. And the next to him is this giant fish, like hanging out right here. So we do notice the guy with the different viewpoints of the guy with the fish on one, that he's in the beak of the bird, and then the other one, he's kind of holding him. So again, our perception, our observations change based on how we view the picture. In this one, we should see a couple different images. Oops. So I see 2. I see almost like one of those Easter Island, like Indian heads. So this is like his big Indian hair, and here's his eye, his nose, his mouth. Or I see kind of like an Eskimo dude with his back to us trying to get in a doorway. So there's the hood of the Eskimo jacket, and here's the like the ruffle of the jacket, his legs, maybe he's opening a door right here. Now, if I sent you in shop class and I asked you to build these shelves, could you do it for me? And if you look closely, you should start to see that no way. That totally doesn't make sense. Like, that's not, the lines all blur and intersect. Is this square perfectly straight? So looking at it, you're probably like, oh my gosh, that hurts my eyes. No way, that is not perfectly straight. Those things are moving at me, but they are. It's just the way the black and white is so close together, and then putting that sharp purple color into it makes it look like the purple lines are bent, but they're not. Ooh, this picture is one of my favorites. Another optical illusion. This art became pretty famous a couple years ago. But so in it, we see a skull. Okay, but in the skull, what do we see? In the eye sockets, we see a woman, and here we see a man, and his hands are clasped in the nose. That's his sleeves in the nose, and he's begging her for something. And the teeth of the skull is really all their wine glasses. So pretty cool optical illusion. Read this sign to yourselves out loud right now. So if you read it, you probably read a bird in the bush, but it really says a bird in the the bush. So the is there twice, but what your conscious mind does, it knows that other the isn't there, and it tries to edit it out. But it is there, so we have to watch our observational skills. What do we see here? Again, we should see two images. So you should see the silhouette of a woman, a young woman. Here's her eyes and her nose and her lips and her chin. But you should also see some kind of like weird looking dude like playing some kind of instrument. So here's his hat and here's his chin and here's his instrument. This is his body and his leg. Pretty cool. Can you stack these blocks? If I gave you these, virtual blocks, would you actually be able to stack them? And you should be looking at this right now and be like, notice that you can't. That it's all intersecting. It's almost four-dimensional. What animal do you see here? Do you see a duck, a bunny, or do you see both? And right away, you probably notice one more than the other, but and that just says you usually 50-50 split, and then when I tell you there's a duck and a bunny, you guys see both. So the duck, here's the duck's bills and his eyeball, and here's his, little duck leg, and here's his little duck feathers. Or the bunny, so this is the bunny's eye, and this is the bunny's ears, and here's a cute little bunny cottontail, and there's his leg and his big old bunny foot. All right, this image contains a picture and a word. Do you see both? So normally you guys automatically pick out the dude's face, so it looks like a guy wearing glasses. But if you tilt your head slightly to the right while you're looking at the screen, you'll see that this is a capital L, lowercase a, little a, R, L-I-A-R, liar. Pretty cool. This is another famous painting that kind of blows your mind. Like these people are standing on top of it while these guys are clearly on the bottom, but it looks like the foundation to this structure is like in half, folded in half. Pretty cool. So this is chalk art. This is pretty cool, and it looks like one way. So again, observation. However you look at it, the list looks so cool. This is done with chalk. This looks like we're looking down on top of buildings. Oh, we'll be back to this in a second. All right, where are all those dots coming from? Look at all these crazy dots in here. Crazy dots. Actually, there's really not dots. There's just the black boxes with a white outline, but your brain, because of the color difference, is inserting, because of the wavelengths, is inserting that gray in there. It's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, this is three-dimensional chalk art like I was telling you. So from this angle, it looks like the hand is holding something. It looks really cool, like it's actually coming out of his portfolio. Same thing with this. Totally cool. It looks like it's three-dimensional. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at the chart and say the color, not the word. Okay, it's really hard because even though the color's green on that first one, you want to read it. You want to say yellow, blue, orange, black, but it's really green, red, blue, yellow. So take a minute and try to do it. It's pretty tricky. Go ahead and pause me. So your right brain tries to say the color, but our left brain is actually reading the word. So we have to see sometimes which is more dominant for us, our left brain or our right brain. So if you read across, you should see A, B, C. And then you should also see what's going down. So pretty neat. And here, this is another one where you should see an old lady and a young lady. So the old lady, here's her mouth and her hairy chin and her fur nasty coat and her bangs and her hair, and she's got a feather coming up. But the young lady, here's her cute red bangs. Here's her eyelash. Here's where her mouth would be. Here's where her jaw is, her ear. Again, she's got like a choker on. So it depends on how you look at it. Again, if I ask you which soldier's the tallest, because you guys are smart, you're going to tell me they're all the same size, and you'd be absolutely correct. They are. But if I asked third graders this, they would tell me the guy on the right is taller. Again, this is just the use of lines and perspective. So we have to be really sure. To make sure of this in a science lab, we would measure every guy. That's how we would back it up with quantitative data. All right, what do you see here? This is a pretty cool one. So you should see like a figure, like maybe walking on a cobblestones, but you should also see a face. So here's one eye, and here's like a mouth in here. The nose is the jacket. So you see the face. The branch helps make another eye. Pretty neat. What do you see here? Count the number of faces, and I think there's some, I can't remember the number of faces. I want to say there's like 13 faces in this. It's a really famous picture, but there's just a ton of them. I'm not going to show you where they are, so you can pause me right now if you want to count how many faces are in the rocks and grass. And that's a famous painting called The Landscape of Faces. All right, predator or prey. So hopefully you should see the overall picture is a kitty cat. Here's the kitty cat's eyes and its nose and its mouth, but inside of it's a rat. So here's a little rat eyes, rat ears, and its rat mouth. Pretty cool. All right, do you see the face on Earth? And this is one of the 7 wonders of the world. So this is a mountaintop, but if we look at it from the side, we can see the jaw, the lips, the nose, the eyeballs. So one of the 7 wonders of the world in Peru. Pretty cool. Never been, but I want to go. So how we see it when we turn the image this way. All right, these circles are not moving. Your brain is making them appear to move. If you try focusing on just one circle, it generally stops moving. So go ahead and pause me if you want to mess with that for a little bit. All right, so again, this is that chalk art I started showing you that it doesn't look like anything from this viewpoint. So when we're looking at or observing it from this viewpoint, it just, what is that? But what about when I look at it from a different angle? My perspective changes. How about these dots? Are they moving? And no, they're not moving. That's your brain again doing it for you. So it looks like going swimming in this picture, but this is what it looks like from the other perspective. Pretty interesting. All right, does this image appear to be moving? It's not. Just kidding. This one is actually moving. All right, so predicting means making a statement or a claim about what will happen based on past experience or evidence. So prediction is for the future. Inferences are explaining what has happened or is happening. Okay. Analyze means we're just taking all that data, all those observations that we've gathered, and we are going to evaluate them, and we're going to reach conclusions for them. This is where maybe our inferences and our predictions can come into play. Scientific investigations are just, and we're going to talk about the different kind, we hopefully did talk about the different kind Tuesday in class of the different investigations that we're really going to focus on. But there's lots of different kinds. All of them are going to include activities like observations, asking questions, gathering information, analyzing that data, summarizing the results, and drawing conclusions. And that's all I got for you guys today. I'll see you in class tomorrow.